You're watching Thunder Down Under. I am Sushant Mehta, and the Indian team was certainly thunderstruck today. Gave away as many as 375 runs. Tough day at the office. Lost the match convincingly. I've got our guests with me. The man who really bamboozled one of the greatest Australian teams of all time in his day. Harbhajan Singh is with us, and we've also got the final word of cricket, Boria, Majumdar. But first, Australia beat India by 66 runs in Sydney to take a 1-0 lead in the three-match one-day international series. Aaron Finch, Steve Smith made centuries. They powered Australia to a mammoth 374 for 6 in reply. Despite losing their top 4 cheaply, India managed 308 for 8.
Will he feel for it?
It seemed like a fresh start for India, returning to international cricket after a gap of over 8 months. But it didn't begin too well for Team India.
Flicks it away, that's a boundary for Warner.
Oh, he's got hold of that all right.
A 156-run stand for the first wicket had put Indians on the back foot early.
And it finds the gap.
When that partnership finally broke, Steve Smith's counter-attack pushed India further back, with Captain Finch completing a century.
And he picks it up beautifully. At least get a couple, but it's the first 100 of the summer. It's the first one for Aaron Finch at the SCG as well, and to 17. And pays a bit of respect there to Philip Hughes. Beautifully played for the skipper.
Maxwell made it worse for India with a 19-ball 45, and their poor fielding only added to their woes.
Again inside the boundary, and it's tipped over the boundary for a 6.
Smith raced to his century of just 62 deliveries, and by the time he got out, India was staring at a near improbable target of 375.
But he's floored right through this innings.
India began their run chase well, but it didn't take too long for the Aussies to get their first breakthrough.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, that is the first wicket.
Virat couldn't capitalize on a reprieve and fell to Josh Hazlewood for just 21.
Finch takes the catch. Hazlewood with the biggest wicket in world cricket. Virat Kohli departs.
Shreyas Iyer had no clue at all as to what struck him.
This one, Carey gets underneath it. Hazlewood has 3.
Hardik Pandya and Shikhar Dhawan played well for their respective half-centuries, but once that 128-run stand was broken, it was all over for India.
Winds up, just goes.
Sports Bureau, India Today.
He has it. Stark with the catch.
Harbhajan Singh, more than anything else, I think a really sloppy day for the Indian team in Sydney. I'm going to start with the bowling and fielding first. Fielding was atrocious, terrible. Several catches dropped. Then the bowling, I mean, Navdeep Saini all over the place, bowling short, bowling wide, goes for more than 80 runs. Yuzvendra Chahal, your premier spinner, expecting so much out of him, especially after that IPL performance, comes in, gives the Australians a tough time in the first 2 overs, but then again, gets smashed all over the park. So the bowling completely collapses today. Even Bumrah, I mean, he is not the Bumrah that we know of, especially not looking like Bumrah himself. So what do you have to say about the bowling and the fielding performance?
What's he got there? Timing wrong and placement wrong.
Well, I think India have got, not gone in their ways. I would say that, they played some good cricket, but in patches. But yes, as you are saying, that fielding was a bit sloppy. There were a lot of missed field, a lot of missed catches. At international standard, you want to take each catch, comes your way. But unfortunately, that didn't happen today. But, that is also something, goes with the bowler then. If your fielders are not supporting the bowler, and then your bowlers are going to get hurt. And that's exactly what has happened. Apart from Shami, I think everybody had kind of an off day. And this was the first game, and playing in Australia, you got to adjust to the bounce and the conditions. What are the lengths you need to bowl. So Indian bowling lineup, I think to start with the new ball, I think they bowled a bit short. They could have been a little fuller and look to get those early breakthrough, which didn't happen, and that's one of the reason Australia got a lot of runs on the board. And when you have runs on the board, it's always going to be difficult to chase 300 and plus total.
I'm going to come back to the bowling. Okay, I understand 375 on the board. They've almost batted you out of the game. But still, you lose your top four. I mean, Virat Kohli, Mayank Agarwal, KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer. Shreyas Iyer didn't even know what he was doing out there in the 2 or 3 balls that he faced. I mean, terrible, embarrassing dismissal for him. But still, you lose your top four so cheaply, still managed to get 308 runs. So it wasn't like, I mean, it was a run fest out there, first of all. And if anybody could do it, it was the Indian team. Once again, the bowling, if you look at Mayank Agarwal, how he got out, Virat Kohli, out twice actually, once he was dropped. And then again, Shreyas Iyer, all 3 gentlemen out to short pitch deliveries, almost in the same manner. So again, India, I mean, it's tough for them, is it? The short stuff. It's going to be a long tour for them. If in Australia you can't play the short ball.
There's many ways to get a wicket. A low full toss on off stump is not...
Well, you have to get used to of the bounce, as a batsman as well. Batting becomes really easy in Australia when you start getting used to of that bounce. But if you don't get used to of that bounce, it's going to get very, very difficult. And obviously, it was the first game. They have played in Dubai, in Sharjah, where the bounce is much lesser than what you get in Australia. And, any team goes to Australia, they struggle in first couple of games. So hopefully, I'm banking on this batting lineup, and I think they have enough power in this batting lineup with Virat Kohli and Mayank and KL Rahul. I think they will come good. It was one of those games where nothing actually went in the favor of Indian batters. So hopefully they'll come better prepared in the next game and produce better results.
Boria, I'm going to come to Shikhar Dhawan and Hardik Pandya, who played that absolutely tremendous knock. But Virat Kohli, I don't want to be overtly critical, but once a great player has been dropped, I'm expecting him to make a big score. Again, the short ball, sort of a premeditated stroke, gives his wicket away. Disappointing.
Firstly, you need to learn to hold your horses. Yesterday you talk it up, today you talk them down. Don't do that. You're playing Australia. This is international cricket. Problem with our fans is one day you have a bad day, it's an aberration. You say, oh, everything's gone haywire. I am disappointed. I am critical. Virat Kohli is a bad batsman. Come on, man. It's the first game. First thing is you need to hold your horses.
It was the first game for Steve Smith. It was the first game for Aaron Finch. It was a first game for Glenn Maxwell, who all 3 had terrible IPLs, by the way. Kohli was still okay in the IPL, underperformed.
Unfortunately, you don't understand also, Sushant.
But not to forget that they are playing.
No. Hold on.
Yeah.
They have played one-day cricket in September.
Okay.
India hasn't. Yesterday, you were talking up the IPL. IPL is not international cricket. Yesterday, when I said to you that this will be a tough tour, you said, no, Australia will have it tough. No, India will have it tough because it's in Australia. So hold your horses and learn to appreciate the rigors of international cricket. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is this was a bad day in office in every sense. That doesn't make this team a bad team. Having said that, yes, there are multiple things that you need to get right, which I'm pretty sure India will. Like Harbhajan was saying, at the start of a tour, you've gone from Sharjah, you were in quarantine for 14 days. All you've done is 2 hours of training, 3 hours of training. So you will need a bit of time. So a tour like this doesn't start in one day, doesn't end in one day. And please, for God's sake, do not talk to me about IPL performances influencing international cricket, because that's chalk and cheese. IPL is always 2 runs lower than international cricket.
It seems like Shikhar Dhawan really carried that IPL form into international cricket. Shikhar was outstanding today. Even Hardik Pandya. I mean, we discussed this yesterday. Hardik does deserve a place as a pure batsman, but we missed that 6th bowling option. Because once the bowler started getting hammered, if Hardik can't bowl, it's going to be a big problem for India. Harbhajan Singh, we are missing that 6th bowler.
Yes, that's something which I'm sure India will, look to correct. Going forward, what if Yuzvendra Chahal gets injured in between his overs, and who will fill that slot? That's something which Indian team management need to discuss and find a slot for someone who can bat and ball. But coming to your point, what Boria also made, yes, it's always difficult. Touring Australia is a very, very difficult place. And to start on a good note, it's something, great if you do that. But if you don't do that, it doesn't mean that your tour is over. This Indian team have won the series there in 2018, and I'm pretty sure they will repeat the same.
They'll bounce
So
back.
one day bad in the office will not make the whole. Yes, I'm sure they will bounce back. And yes, coming to some, the dismissals, as we said, the bounce is gonna be there. Bounce is gonna be the key factor in this whole series. The batters who will adjust better to the bounce, they will score a lot of runs because there's hardly any seam movements or ball swinging here and there. So it's a bounce which you need to get adjust to, and people who will adjust to that, I'm sure they're going to get score in every game.
Right. Let's talk about the bowling because Virat was also talking about that sixth bowler, Harbhajan Singh. I expect he has to do better. Bumrah has to do better. Even Yuzvendra Chahal, both these bowlers have to do much better. Otherwise, it's game over for India. But Navdeep Saini. Now, what are your options? Shardul Thakur is there. Natarajan is also available. Do you go with another side? Because if you lose the second match, the series is dead. The one international series. So, cause for caution before the second match. Would you make any changes?
Yeah, that's what Maxwell can do, I think, and especially.
No, I think no, I would not like to make any changes. I think these were your 5 best bowlers you played today. Bumrah had an off day. Of course, he's a very, very good bowler, a top bowler, quality bowler, and probably the best bowler the world have ever seen so far. With the new generation.
Yeah.
So we got to believe in him, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. So this is the best 11, in terms of bowling wise. These were the 5 best options India have played today. Yes, unfortunately, they don't have Hardik Pandya bowling at his best, or he's not recovered from his back injury, which is a bit of a setback. But this is what you have. And bowlers need to take a little bit extra responsibility to deliver. And yes, Virat mentioned a very good is not just about just bowling 6 ball and going away. It's about creating that pressure and taking those wickets. If you take early wickets, Bumrah will take a couple of early wickets, and Mohammad Shami takes a couple of early wickets with the new ball. Obviously this game would have been something like 280, 290. India looking to chase. So you have to keep that thing going and keep that momentum. That and also show that intent. You're looking to take those wickets, and which will happen from next game onwards. And it's not easy to find lengths in Australia. Everyone takes time. Bowlers, batters, they need to adjust to those conditions because the bounce is the big difference when you play in Australia or play in India.
Right. Boria, let's talk about the positives now. Shikhar Dhawan, really good opening. Even Mayank Agarwal was very, very good before he got out. I mean, we had about 50 runs in almost about 3-4 overs. It was a fantastic start. And then Hardik Pandya making 90 under so much pressure. That again, and as I said, you lose your top 4 and still you end up at 308. So these are all positives that India will take to game number 2.
Yeah, I thought Hardik's innings was the major positive. Not the first 50, because the first 50, 25 were extras. So Australia was as bad at the start as India was. So you've got to look at that. Having said that, that partnership between Hardik and Shikhar, 120 odd, told you that they didn't give up. That's why I'm saying we need to be a little patient because it will take time. Australia did play that England series. India played a first 50-over game for the first time in March. And how many times you practice? How many times you simulate? You play inter-squad matches, intra-squad matches. It's not the same as a cricket match out there in the middle. So it will take a bit of time. I'm fairly confident, very confident that India will come good. This is a good enough side. All I will say is urge a bit of patience. Be a little, just hold your horses a little bit back. India will come good. There's no need to change anyone. Navdeep Saini overnight doesn't become a bad bowler. Shardul Thakur one game doesn't become a bad bowler. No one's a bad bowler. Yes, you've dropped catch.
Virat
yes,
spoke about those part-timers. Who are your options and would you go in for a 6th bowler?
He's the part-timer. For me, he's the part-timer in this team. Okay. He's got to give me 2 overs or 3 overs and give me a bit of a relief when somebody else is getting topped. Right. Because he can do that seam-up kind of bowling for 3 overs or 4 overs that Sachin used to do.
Harbhajan Singh, this is, I mean, I don't know what magic this is. Aaron Finn struggled throughout the IPL. And again, Boria is going to make this point. International cricket is different. But still, struggles throughout the IPL, gets 100 today. Steve Smith, underwhelming IPL. Fantastic knock. One of the best knocks, I think, Steve Smith has ever played in one international cricket. Maxwell. He was almost dead and gone. Today, I don't know what happened to him as well. So Australia, it's going to be a tough series ahead if their batsmen are roaring, and I think the Indian team has better batsmen than Australia still, believe so. They were outstanding today.
Takes it on the full.
Yes, they were outstanding because they are playing at home and they know the bounce,
Yeah,
they know the
exactly.
conditions better than the Indian team, and they are born and brought up there on those wickets. They have played there almost all their life there, and if you see Finch, Stephen Smith, Maxwell slightly on a slower track, our batters will do a much better job than these guys. Conditions plays a big role, which we hardly talk about. So this is something which we need to understand why Steve Smith batted the way he batted today, because these conditions suited his batting style, and of course they are born and brought up there, and so they know how to play shots on these wickets rather than if we talk about Indian players, they will have to get used to the bounce, and I'm sure once they'll get used to the bounce, batting becomes really busy, and you can score a lot of runs in Australia once you're settled.
No doubt about it. Well, stay with me, gentlemen. It's time for a short break. Now, when we come back, we'll ask both Harbhajan and Boria what India needs to do to bounce back in this series. You're watching Thunder Down Under. I am Sushant Mehta. I've got the legend Harbhajan Singh with me. Well, Harbhajan, now looking forward. We've lost this first encounter by 66 runs, but in the second game, specifically, I'm going to ask you about Steve Smith. I don't know what zone he gets into against India. Today, again, I can understand home conditions and everything, but he just batted out of his mind. He clobbered the Indian bowlers. As my introduction says, being someone, Harbhajan Singh, who bamboozled the greatest Australian team of all time, what should India's plan be specifically for Steve Smith?
I think Steve Smith, there's no doubt about, as we, rate very highly, we talk really highly about Virat Kohli, and he's the Virat Kohli of Australia. He scored a lot of runs for Australia, and he wins most of the games for Australia, when he plays. So, conditions, as I said, plays a big role, and he loved playing in Australia. It's not just about India. Against India, he gets runs. It's about, even if you play against England and any other teams in Australia, he always gets runs. So what we need to do is to make sure we don't give him easy singles to start with. And he's someone who likes to rotate his strike. And spinner early on could be a great option against Steve Smith. Yes, Yuzvendra Chahal had an off day, and he's a quality bowler. Next time I would like to see Yuzvendra Chahal straight away starting against Steve Smith whenever he comes down to bat. So, that is something which, maybe Kohli need to keep the option, have an attacking field where Yuzvendra Chahal is bowling to Steve Smith. So let him take those early chances. If you ask him to take those early chances, will definitely create a chance for ourselves to get him out early.
Virat Kohli and Jasprit Bumrah. Bumrah not getting wickets up front. By the way, we've lost 6 international matches on the trot. Back to back, India's lost. So, Bumrah, what does he need to do? He needs to give us wickets up front, and Virat Kohli also. Again, he looked like he was out there trying too hard to dominate each ball. So, for both these champion players, Bumrah and Virat Kohli, some quick fixes?
Well, I think Bumrah, I think he was slightly shorter on the length. In Australia, you get excited about, when a keeper is catching your ball, on this height. Yeah. So as a bowler, you do get excited about that. Your ball is going through that pace and stuff. But I think the slightly length, if you look to put the length little ahead and ask the batsman to come and drive, that would be the length Bumrah, I think, needs to bowl. And I'm sure the quality he have, I'm sure he's going to come good. And the day he will pick early wickets, couple of wickets in the first 10 overs, I'm sure this team India will look a different team.
Yes, and very quickly about Virat, Harbhajan, very quickly. Virat.
I wanted just to start, both Finch and Warner wanted.
Well, Virat is a quality player, and I think today he was a bit of in that rush. He wanted to prove a point that, he wanted to dominate. And yes, he got an opportunity, he got a chance, he couldn't capitalize, but I'm sure he will understand, when he'll go back from the ground, and he'll understand what he needs to do to become the same Virat what he was in 2018, when he was there in Australia. And Virat Kohli, with his quality, he's going to score runs in any conditions, whether it's Australia or England, and I'm banking on him to score big in next couple of games.
100% King Kohli is going to bounce back. Well, that's all the time that we have. We'll see you next time, and hopefully with India's win against Australia in the second one international. Thanks for watching Thunder Down Under.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.